most perturbed about me asking him to be my vice president, I think that was like lower on the list of things that caught him off guard. It was the fact that I walked in with intelligence. So Trump is really impressed with Nick Fuentes. And Nick Fuentes, unlike so many of the lawyers and so many people that he was left with on his 2020 campaign, he's actually a loyalist. When he didn't know what the lawyers is, you'll still have your lawyer list. And when all the lawyers said, forget it, Trump's done, there were loyalists running up in the White House, right? And my question would be, why, when you had the chance, did you not free the January 6ers? And I came to him as someone who loves Trump, and I said, go and get Corey back. Go and get these people that the media tried to cancel and told you to step away from. He basically gives me this would-be mob-esque kind of story, talking to some kid from the south side of Chicago trying to sound mobby or whatever. He goes into the story about all that he went through to get Alice Johnson out of jail and how he didn't do it for Kim, but he did it for me. But then he goes on to say that Kim is a you could tell her I said that. And I was thinking, like, that's the mother of my children. Since we know, and all the Christians in America that love Trump know that Trump is a conservative, we're going to demand that you hold all policies directly to the Bible. When Trump started basically screaming at me at the table, telling me I was going to lose, I mean, has that ever worked for anyone in history?
You're going to lose. Tell him he's going to lose.
I'm like, well, hold on, Trump. You're talking to Ye.
Yeah, LTTV, Blunt Talk with LT, back at it with another video. All right, let's jump right into this one. What up, Reality Watch? Let's get it. Before we get into the intro explanation, let's just Stop! All right, so the security guards are holding back this fan who wanted a picture with Kanye. There is no violence happening here. YouTube do not demonetize it because of this. Let's get into this. Kanye fights through the security. Not literally. No violence here, YouTube.
Need to have
security guard looking at him crazy like, holy, you're really going to push through and I'm trying to protect you from these wild people. But he took the picture with the fan. A lot of fans have been going hard for Kanye on social media, saying he's a down-to-earth guy. He looks out for his fans, yada, yada, yada. You know the shit that fans generally say. Let's get into this. So this is Nick Fuentes, the guy who he brought to the meeting with Donald Trump. Before we get into all the Kim Kardashian running up that child support to $200K and Kanye West owing $50 million plus to the IRS. Before we get into that, let's cover some of this shit. Nick Fuentes, the guy he swears behind. Let's listen to what he has to say in this short clip before we get into the Tim Pool interview where Kanye walks out of.
Something like a white uprising, politically speaking, gain control of social media, maybe just get rid of Congress altogether after that happens. Here's the pathway. We have one more election where white people can make the decision. The white people got to make the right decision, and then Trump's got to get in there and never leave. That.
Oh, shut up, nigga.
To me, at this point, is a pathway.
All right. So Kim K, who is worth over $1 billion, worth way more than Kanye at this point after Kanye lost $2.5 billion from his Adidas deal, losing that deal and amongst other deals. He has he's well beneath her in earnings and total money, net worth. He has to pay her $200K a month, which comes out to $2.4 million a year. Stretch that out to 18 years, it's $43.2 million that he has to pay in child support. That's ridiculous. There should never be a child support that high. No child, or no. Was he have 4 children with her? They don't need that type of money for support. I know they have to sustain a certain lifestyle with Kim Kardashian, but she has a lot more money than him. So what we're seeing here is, we're going to break it down when we get into the Tim Pool cast, or the Tim cast, whatever the fuck it's called, because there's a lot more here. What we're seeing here is a lot similar. It's very similar to what's happening with Andrew Tate. They're going after his bank accounts. They're attacking his wallet. He says they're trying to put him in jail. And with the tactics they're using, owing the IRS and owing for child support will put you in jail. And when they put these tabs so high after killing all his income and shit, that's what it's looking like. I'm not the type of person to cape for Kanye. I see Kanye as largely as an unaccountable fool who just does things and doesn't realize there's consequences to his actions, like wifing up a hoe like Kim Kardashian. What are you thinking? Why would you do that? And then you have all these kids with her, and you got to live with you have to live with the results now. That's what you got to do. And Kanye is aware of this shit. There's no way he wasn't aware of these type of movements or these type of activities where it leads. I'm struggling today. Hold on, y'all. Let's get into this. It says the IRS froze his accounts because he owes $50 million. He was dropped from a bank account. We're going to get into the interview. I think a lot of people have heard this interview by now, but we're going to have to highlight and break down certain details shared in this interview and provide some context, because Kanye generally speaks in vague nothings. There'll be a lot of things there, but he just doesn't put it together well, where he doesn't articulate his points. That's why he doesn't take debates, and when people try to debate him, he just walks out. He's unable to articulate his points. He brought in intelligence by bringing Nick Fuentes, but he offered little to no support during this interview we're about to get into. So let's get into this.
I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. You were with your families or loved ones, or at least relaxed and enjoyed yourself. Over the past week, there was a particularly big news story that's resulted in a continued news cycle, which is now going on for over a week, which is in many ways unheard of. But right now, because Donald Trump went to dinner with Ye and Nick Fuentes, among others, he is now being denounced by Mike Pence, several Republican senators, and for whatever reason, this story, for many reasons I suppose people have made, this story has persisted till today. And we are able to actually sit down with several of the individuals involved in that story, notably Ye, Nick Fuentes, and Malinopolis, of course, who made the dinner happen. It's my understanding, or at least got the.
I had the dinner invite before I met Milo.
Okay, my bad. There you go. So we're gonna jump right into this story.
I just overcomplicated it.
Absolutely. So we're gonna start with that. And there's a lot we want to talk about, and you know what, man, this is a very big story. A lot of people have questions about, what were Trump's intentions, why were certain people invited, and Trump, of course, has issued statements. So a lot of people want to know where he stands, and more importantly, what happened there and why. And there's also the questions about what Ye 24 means, and I'll keep that a little bit vague so that they can answer to that and speak more to that. And then, of course, we're going to get into a lot of different issues. However, head over to timcast.com and become a member. We're going to have a members-only uncensored show.
For having me.
Yeah, so you are. And share the show with your friends. Sir.
You did it.
There you go. I think everybody knows who you are. And which of you gentlemen would like to introduce yourself?
Nicholas, please.
Hi, yeah, I'm Nick Fuentes. First time here on the Timcast. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you do?
Oh, I'm a live streamer. I do a show called America First on Cozy.tv.
All right. And, of course, Milo, you were here a couple weeks ago.
Yes, I'm your best ever guest.
So we've been told that the episode with you was one of the best podcasts ever. People really enjoyed hearing you speak.
I think that's accurate.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
thanks for coming back.
Thanks. I was wondering how I was going to make it even more extraordinary the second time I visited, but I think I might have pulled it off.
Luke's here.
Total Sausage Fest tonight. Welcome. My name is Luke Radowski of wearechange.org. Today I'm wearing my Didn't Epstein Himself t-shirt, which you could get on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And I think we should be used.
I probably should have cut this out of the reaction, but I didn't, so we're going to have to live with it. It is what it is. Let's get it.
That word a little bit more, just like, this YouTube channel didn't Epstein itself. And if this YouTube channel is Epsteined, we will be streaming on Twitter. So yeah, I started a t-shirt company after YouTube demonetized me. So thebestpoliticalshirts.com, because you guys buy it. That's why I'm here. Thank you so much for having me.
And of course, Serge.
And I am Serge.com.
You guys buy it. That's why I'm here. Thank you so much for having me.
This, of course, is related to a dinner that happened, and I was wrong a little on the details. So, a dinner happened. Nick, you were there. Ye, you were there. I just want to start off by how did this dinner come to happen, and what happened?
I was talking to Trump for about a month. We had scheduled the dinner in October, and then he announced for president. He pushed the dinner back to November. And I've been pulling together a campaign. And after I put up the DEF CON tweet, a bunch of people that have been canceled, like Alex Jones, I started getting in contact with other people that were now on the inside of the matrix. And Alex Jones, producer, said that Milo wanted to contact me. And here we are.
So that's how you guys got in contact.
Yeah, originally, and then I suggested that we bring in Nicholas as a enormous extra brain firepower that he is. He's most extraordinarily brilliant political commentator of his generation, and he's been treated just about as badly as anybody. So I thought he deserved to be in the room too, and yeah, that's pretty much how we got together.
So I have some questions about that, but we'll get through the dinner portion of how exactly this happened, what went down. So this is how you get in contact, the three of you. How is it that Nick ends up invited to this dinner, and what happened?
Well, he was rolling with me. I was impressed with Nick, and I was like, just come to the dinner.
If y'all recall earlier in the clip that we played and we reacted to, Kanye West said that Donald Trump was very impressed with Nick Fuentes. He said that in the early clip, and then now he says he was impressed and he just brought him as a tag along.
And we had Karen Giorno pick us up from the airport, and there was a lot of back and forth. There's another gentleman named Jamar Montgomery that was with us. It's
Bar King says $200K a month. That's some foot in your neck shit. Yeah, that's some absolute fuckery. Kim K is a bitch, yo. She don't need to be doing that. Kanye woke up and seen that news. He was like,
Man, you stupid bitch.
you already see the IRS has his foot on his neck. The banking institutions have their foot on his neck. The media has their foot on his neck. And now his baby mother is not even in his corner. I remember he wrote her a check for $1 million because she had a competing brand. I'm going to bring up that story. I can't remember the details to it, but he gave her $1 million for some arbitrary reason in relation to her getting a brand deal or not getting a brand deal. Like, he was out there looking out for her. She's just scum.
He's an engineer at Boeing, and
once again, he chose her, though. This is why we say, don't wife these type of girls. They'll go left. You gotta live with the results.
I'm telling him just we should raise everyone's volume.
Okay, cool. And we sat there, and it was like when Trump came in, I said, do you want to sit alone? He's like, no, bring your friends in. So a big thing is like Trump had no idea who Nick Fuentes was. But this whole, I just got to go right to the heart of this
I'm sorry.
Fuentes was. I said, do you want to sit alone? He's like, no, bring your friends in. So a big thing is like Trump had no idea who Nick Fuentes was. But this whole,
So what he's saying is Trump had no idea who Nick Fuentes was, but in the initial clip, he said that Trump was very impressed with Nick Fuentes. Was that after the dinner? Because after the dinner, Trump was singing a different tune, but we don't know who's lying here. Or do we?
I just got to go right to the heart of this anti-Semite claim that's happening. This is something, if you
What up, TG?
read the definition, it says you can't claim that there's multiple people inside of banks or in media that are all Jewish or you're anti-Semitic. And that's the truth. Like, it's the truth. What are we talking about? And
Blood Library, what do you mean? You mean...
I'm saying, like,
All right, so Tim stopped him to say, what does he mean? He was very specific and clear right here when he said what he said.
And that's the truth inside of banks or in media.
My bad,
It
y'all.
says you can't claim
My bad, y'all.
that there's multiple people inside of banks or in media that are all Jewish or you're anti-Semitic. And that's the truth.
Okay, now the wording was a little off. There were all, yeah, it's kind of.
Like, it's the truth. What are we talking about? And
Library, what do you mean? You mean
I'm saying, like, I've been labeled anti-Semite, right? So there's different beliefs about our bloodlines, you know, like the documentary that Kyrie posted. And in general, America has been left ignorant and history has been changed. So when we start questioning things that question the indoctrination, then you immediately get, you said debanked or what did you say happened to you? Or
Demonetized, deplatformed.
demonized, demonetized. And what's so beautiful about this time is everyone got to see what's really been happening. And now we can really understand. We can see that Ron Emanuel was right next to Obama, and then Jared Kushner was right next to Trump.
But so we're getting right into it, I guess, right? I was hoping to go for the news first before we got into all of this stuff. I think the issue is one way to put it is you're expounding upon a localization issue that you've witnessed, right? Let me clarify. There are a handful of people that you see are Jewish in a certain place, and then you associate Judaism with the power as
No, we ran through this in the Kyrie conversation with Farrakhan speaking up for Kyrie. In that compilation reaction that I did, we broke down that beautifully. If y'all haven't seen that, y'all need to see that episode. When we covered the whole media power structure, presidents, CEOs of the major media companies out there, mainly Jewish. I'm gonna pull that up in a second.
Whereas I view that as not relevant to it. Like, yeah, you're substantially more powerful than I am, but I don't view what you're doing as an issue of black people.
Yeah, but
Apples and
have you ever heard
oranges.
the term the black vote? So it's okay to put us in one net, but it's not okay for me to put them in one net.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's the basis of the hypocrisy that people have been thinking about and knowing about and realizing for decades. We were all wondering how this dam was going to break. Everybody in the country was wondering, what is the root of this hypocrisy? Why can people talk about white people a certain way? Why can't they talk about that group a certain way? And the wretched and wicked and oppressive prevailing orthodoxy of cancel culture, well, it turned out that the one thing that was going to break the dam was the biggest star in the world, and it took the biggest star in the world to do it. And now the dam is broken.
so let me tell you my issue. I don't like identitarianism. You guys are familiar with what that is?
Well, they started it, and they've been visiting
Sure,
on
I-
us.
When
We're
I
trying to
was-
break it.
When I was asking you about running for president, you immediately said, well, you'd be good for the black vote. And I said, is that
All of the
because I'm
emotion-
black? No, not just because of that. So is that, are you doing the same thing?
I didn't say that was the only reason. I said it was because you're personable.
Shout out to 16 Bar King with the $4.99 super chat. Said yeah, or I guess that's yay. Always been upfront anti-Blemite. Okay, or Blemite, whatever that is, wherever you want with that. My bad, y'all. I'm trying to stay focused on the show here. We'll get to the comments shortly. Shout out for the super chat. Struggling. We got to bring this up. We got to put this into proper context for those who missed that other show. This is just a breakdown of who controls and runs the media. So when he says, oh, you're just making a connection, a lot of those people happen to work in the media. No, it's different. It's not just happen to work in the media and a lot of Jewish people end up working in the media. Look at the power structure of the
outrage
media.
type.
And if you control the message and then you control the banks, we get these Andrew Tate type of situations where people are completely deplatformed and they're putting holds on their banks. And we see the Kanye situations getting a little bit crazy. the ramifications and consequences are a little inordinate for the actions that he's taken.
He causes when he says the words like the Jewish media.
Let's get into this.
I mean, the media is kind of controlled by a lot of Jewish people out here. We can actually see here who controls your mind. This was a chart back in 2013.
We reacted to this
All of these
before.
red is Jewish people, right? So they
We reacted to this before, but when you take it in, the president, the CEO, the founder, owner, vice president, chairman, and all the red are Jewish people. So when we talk about who's running the media and who's pushing these narratives and who's controlling it, and someone says these type of things, it's not anti-Semitic, it's not targeting a group, it is just showing the fucking facts. And this is a way to scapegoat accountability and try to say, oh no, it's anti-this. It's like what the trannies do. You say something that's factual about them, a transgender woman who is really just a man, you say that's a man, and oh my God, it's anti this. No, it's not. It's the truth. You're not a female. That's why you try to demonize the word female to get women to say, oh, he's misogynistic. He's calling me a female. He doesn't respect me as a woman. No, the word woman has been hijacked. So when niggas say female, they're trying to make sure. They're trying to make sure.
Oh, yes, the camera loves your nastiness.
Once again, all in the red. All in the red. And we look here and we see ABC News, CBS News. We've covered this before, but we got to keep it in context for those who haven't seen that show. And we have Tim Pool out here capping through his teeth.
Well, to the common person, and you probably would do well with the black vote. Absolutely.
Just because I'm black, because a lot of black people don't like me.
Yeah, see, that's making that same assumption. He'll do well with the black vote. Hell nah. Most black folks ain't voting for Kanye West to be president. He don't know shit about global and foreign relations like that. There's a lot of things that Kanye West does not have any insight to. People do not want him to be president because they love his music and they're a fan of him and free speech. Doesn't mean they want him to be president.
Of course, I think race plays a role in a lot of things. Absolutely, and
race may play a role, but when we voted, well, I'm not saying we because I didn't vote. I'm an American like that, but. When Obama won, Obama was qualified as shit. People may have voted for Obama because he was black and they didn't take in his policies, but he was qualified.
I think that's for.
I think the construct of race has really been forced upon us as just something for us to be woke about and just constantly talk about and use it as these like walls.
Could you say the same thing about Judaism?
Well, let's look at the facts of what I'm saying, though. If you say in this neighborhood where they gerrymander, there's this amount of time. So, hey, I wasn't doing that. I was just gerrymandering the lawyers and the Hollywood executives and the people at the bank that debanked me and then froze my accounts. You know, it's like we want to jump into protecting the idea that we can't put a net around something, right? But that's been my job as a producer to take, a Roy Ayers sample and put a James Brown drum and put it within a 2-minute, 3-minute song.
And this is why Kanye communicates the way he does, and he's very confusing. It seems like a lot of his statements are very convoluted and they're all over the place because he's bunching a lot of things in. And the average mind's not going to really understand what the hell Kanye is saying when he's saying it. You got to piece it together and read between the lines a lot of times.
That's the way I actually think, and that's the way I talk. And now this morning, I found out that they were trying to put me in prison because what they did was...
Now, Kanye is absolutely right. People see this and they're like...
Stop it. Get some help.
Thinking he's paranoid. Listen, I'm not a Kanye supporter. Y'all see me talk, and I'm always like criticizing the things that he does because he does some dumb shit a lot of times. But let's be real here. We can see it for what it is. They're trying to fuck his money all the way up to the point where they have him in over his head in expenses, IRS bills, child support, and they're trying to shut him down to the point where they're putting him in jail. They can't take his music off of Spotify. He was the 4th most streamed artist this year. So it's like the fans will have there'll be an outrage. Fans won't have it. The average citizen will be like, yeah, this is an attack on free speech.
I moved $140 million into J.P. Morgan. And I said, I want to talk to Jamie Dimon. Like, look at me. I'm just going in naive,
multi-billionaire, like, maybe Jamie Dimon will let me in on some deal flow. Wrong. And I'm just like banging my hands like, I want to meet with Jamie. And I start complaining online, and then they debank me for complaining. And so I'm about to get debanked. They're like, you need to go to Trump's, the bank, AXO, whatever, you got to go. And I'm like, I've been trying to buy my own bank for the longest. And then we figured out how to get my own bank. It's like 50 million, 75 million. So I'm about to buy my own bank. But then as they're about to take the money out, here comes Adidas with a $275 million bill for marketing funds that they agreed upon. Because I said to them, hey, I'm the marketing, give me the marketing fund, which proves by the response they got when they stole the designs and said, we're going to not call them Yeezys anymore. So this is what I was already fighting Adidas for. So I'm fighting Gap, get out of Gap, fighting Adidas. And then I deal with this little bit of noise from, Zionism from the fashion world, where they use this plant named Gabby, who's obviously like some kind of CIA agent, knows nothing about fashion. This is a certain thing. When someone can't dress, you know that they're not like a fashion person. They're just there as like the society, like the control that they try to use with celebrities, which has now been broken, right?
Hold on, y'all. I think this has to do with the drugging. I'll pull this up later because they actually did try to drug him. They tried to put him on some Britney Spears shit. Hollywood's, it's crazy. It's crazy out there.
Because where it broke. Okay. I want to get on like LeBron in a second, but I'm going to come back to this and just talk about this morning where, I'm not going to mention her name because she's a nice lady, but someone at Cohen Resnick tells me, and I tell all of my finance people, never use the term a lot, but they said, okay, you're going to have to pay a lot of taxes. And that made me feel like they're just like waiting, like we finally got him. We finally can put him in jail. And I was like, can I still run for president in jail? I found out I could. So I was like, okay, that's fine then. It'll be okay.
But if you were Jeffrey Epstein, they wouldn't touch your bank account. They would allow you to break the rules, regulations, just like JP Morgan and Chase did, just like Deutsche Bank did. So there is an issue to bring up with that. But when it comes to the race stuff, I think this is an important discussion to have because I
have to complete this thought. You guys got to.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, because I'm talking about literally finding out that they were trying to put me in prison this morning. Watch this. So
This morning.
Yes. So not come to my house this morning, but I found out, okay, so they put a $75 million hold on 4 of my accounts. And then they said,
hear that? $75 million hold on 4 of his accounts.
You owe a lot of taxes. Took me like 6 hours to find out how much a lot was. They said, well, around $50 million. Now I'm going to different CFOs like, okay, so would this be tax evasion? Because
if y'all haven't heard the Steve Harvey show or the Steve Harvey story about him owing $22 million in taxes, that's on the channel as well. Y'all got to check that out. All sorts of fuckery when it comes to these taxes and accountants being negligent.
I'm obviously not the most financially literate person on the planet. I was just a child, basically. Like when you become famous, you stop growing at that point. I became famous at age 24 and I had handlers.
We don't care.
Let me tell you, we don't care. The lie detector test determined that was a lie.
Stop the cap.
Now, this is where he starts being unaccountable as fuck, and I don't rock with none of this shit. You stop maturing when you're 24, when you're like that's bullshit. That's that unaccountable bullshit. I was just a child. Nah, man, we ain't having that.
Emotional damage.
That's where I'm off the boat here. Don't agree with everything here. Let's make sure you all hit that like button, as TG said. TG reminding y'all, hit that like button upon entry. It helps with the algorithm. Y'all want this channel to grow. Y'all want the chat to get it more exciting, more interactive. Let's get it.
Around, I had my mom around, different things, and it was always like you go from one handler to the next handler to the next handler. So now I'm having I get to actually learn how to run a company. I get to learn how to count. Really, I was like Pablo in a movie. It was like I didn't even know where to put the money. Like literally making $300 million cash, but you're just like a high-priced. We're not going to use the S word just because it's like too passe to use it. But it's like next year I was supposed to make $500 million in royalties, and like no one needs this amount of money. But when I would work on homeless shelters and ideas, I'd have a contractor, we won't say what race, and they'd be tearing down the contracts. It's all about, position. It's not about the amount of money that you have. And, to come in here, I feel like it's a setup to be like defending. I'm not going to go through another, like I'm literally going to walk the F off the show if I'm sitting up here having a, talk about, you can't say that it was Jewish people that did it when every sensible person knows that. I mean, Jon Stewart knows what happened to me, and they took it too far. It was like American History X. Like my head was on the side of the curve, and the exact people that I called out kicked my head. We found out that my trainer was a MK Ultra Canadian intelligence.
He worked in the defense research and development in the Canadian military, essentially working on psyops in the Canadian military. This is Harley.
Oh shit! I went back. Harley Pasternak. Yeah, this guy. There's a whole article detailing all this shit this fucker did. Let's get into this though.
Pasternak.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, look, they tried to medicate me. I was exhausted. They wrongly diagnosed me, and they when I asked them how much lithium did you want to put me on exactly, it took them 4 days to answer because they were embarrassed about the amount, right? And I refused to take this, right? You understand that if I had taken the medication, I would not be here, and it would have been, he was deeply troubled. We miss him. We love his music, though.
Well, they would have Britney Spears too. I mean, look at
they would have Michael Jackson
or worse, yeah.
So
look at what they did. Look at what they did to Britney. When she went in, she was tired, she was exhausted, she was in a bad way. But 10 years of that medication wrecked her brain. You can see it now. Yeah. You can see there's not much of her left.
You mentioned Pasternak was the name.
Yes, Harley Pasternak. That's the text message that you posted that we were talking about before.
Here's the
lobotomy thread.
Yeah.
Before the show, obviously, I'm getting a bunch of messages from people. People are hitting me up, and they're like, "You shouldn't host them. They're anti-Semitic. They're white supremacists. They're racist." I do find it funny or weird, whatever, that Nick, they call you a white supremacist. You're here working with or for one of the most powerful
Nick
black
Fuentes
men,
is...
one of the wealthiest and most famous. But a lot of people were saying on the right specifically, don't platform them. And I said, well, I want to understand what they're thinking and why they're thinking it. They're they're involved in what may be the biggest news story of the past week, and we have an opportunity to sit down and talk.
Because the red media controls both sides. It just said it as simple as possible. Jared Kushner was next to Trump. Rahm Emanuel was next to Obama. But see, since 1940, go ahead.
I was going to say, isn't that an issue of these individuals? Like you're extrapolating. I'm going to order. With the last of my money that's available in a different account, I'm going to order a PJ before I sit and have another Lex Friedman setup conversation. When I'm literally they're trying to put me in jail for my opinion. But I get that.
I'm not going to have that opinion. I don't care about people. Those are bots that are trying to tell you. We realize, look at Pence. He sold Trump out. You get what I'm saying? It's like I would have never wanted to do anything that hurt Trump. I'm on Trump's side. Trump said things that hurt me. He lied about me, but I mean, he's known for lying. And when people used to tell me that, he's a liar, it's like, I went into the trenches for Trump. That's another conversation. There was no one in my position that wore that hat. And all of my surroundings exhausted me. It was like death by 1,000 questions. I know I'm jumping to another thing, but what I'm saying is, I know you got a rep for your people online, but it's you got a person in real life that I'm not with it, bro. I lost the money for the freedom of speech, and that's what makes me the only American that we know that really deserves to run the country, because everyone else.
Shut your bitch ass up before I get to talking shit about you.
This statement right here, this is weak as fuck, man. What are you talking about, sir? What are you talking about? This is so bad.
I lost the money for the freedom of speech, and that's what makes me the only American that we know that really deserves to run the country, because everyone else, your boy DeSantis,
Nick Fuentes, who also got deplatformed and lost his right of freedom of speech, is there shaking his head. Trump, who got deplatformed. Andrew Tate, Alex Jones, Milo, who's sitting across from him. He's not the only one. What are you talking about, sir? They affected his banks, we get it, but that doesn't mean you're suitable to run the country just because you got deplatformed and you lost your freedom of speech. And you didn't technically lose your freedom of speech. You went up on a platform and said that you can say anti-Semitic things with your chest out. Nobody's going to second that. Nori took down the footage because that's like a white person coming on a platform and say, I could say racist shit about niggers, hard ER, all I want. Nobody's going to want to stand next to them. You got to be accountable for some of your actions. The debanking and the billions of dollars that just went completely phantom, that is fucked up. That's what I look at and be like, yeah, that's fucked up. Randomly owing the IRS $50 million after you're losing all your billions. Kim Kardashian getting that judgment in the divorce settlement right now for the $200K a month. All of this is a little suspicious. When he says they're trying to put him in jail, they're like, okay, you're going to drain all his money and not enable him to actually pay his IRS debt and his child support. Then he's going to jail.
Go to jail, you son of a bitch! All right, hold on, man. You go to jail!
That's fucked up. That's the way they're trying to do him. And he sees it coming from a mile away. If he's not making enough money to supplement all these expenses, now that he's lost billionaire status and he's at like, what, 500 million at this point. But the way he's spending and the way he's not earning, the way a lot of companies are trying to separate themselves from him, he's losing spots for his music and movies and video games and all sorts of things. So his royalties ain't coming in the same way. But once again, Kanye put a lot of this on himself. He needs to be accountable. But this is inordinate consequences, and it's definitely out of the norm. This whole shutting down the bank shit that they got Andrew Tate and Kanye on is crazy. They're trying to starve people till they die.
Trump, whoever they raise in a petri dish over on the Democrat side is going to play the game.
Look,
and, like,
here's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
You went right into the anti-Semite thing. I think it's something that should be talked about. But if you start bringing this up, you're going to ask my opinion on it. I'm going to disagree with you.
I didn't ask your opinion on it. You jumped into it.
But
I don't care about your opinion. I like your opinion on how we win an election, but I don't care about anybody's opinion, bro. I lost. They tried to put me in jail. They blocked $2 billion I had. Like, but I told Farrakhan, I said, look, is it anti-Semitic for me to say his name out loud? Like, I told
minister.
Yeah, the minister. Like, I told
Obama met with him too.
Oh, he was. Yeah, I mean, the Jewish people allowed Obama to meet with the minister. You know, so Farrakhan said, well, did he have the money?
All right, that Learn Your Rules was from another thumbnail. I don't know how that ended up in there. That's my mistake. I have to hold that L.
The contract for the next 4 years, if I hadn't done anything, would have been $500 million a year for 4 years. What I was fighting for was the IP, so my children could, I'm sorry, just sometimes I think about 7 thoughts at one time. Because anything I see, I come up with like 7 answers to it and then just choose what it is. But the thing is, when I said my children, the reason why my brain kind of blocked, because it's like God is saying, you know, your children are going to be okay. Baby mama's got money, right? God is you.
Baby mama's got money, right? But yet you are getting finessed $200,000 a month in child support. Once again, $2.4 million a year, $43.2 million across an 18-year stretch. $43.2 million. That's insane.
Using me, he's breaking me down, removing all of the, richest person, all of this, so I can serve him. And the more and more those things are taken away from me, the more I can be empty and be a vessel and be able to be used. And right now, it's like, you're not going to take, if we can't, you're not going to take my pain away, right? The Jewish people say, it's the Holocaust, this happened, and you can't say anything about it. We can't take their pain away. No one's going to denounce the fact that they tried to lock me up. That's what, because every time I'm just holding stride, and it's like, I thought I was more Malcolm X, but I find out I'm more MLK because as I'm getting hosed down every day by the press and financially, I'm just standing there. And when I found out that they tried to put me in jail, it was like a dog was biting my arm, and I almost shed a tear, almost. But I still walked in stride through it. Yeah.
I think they've been extremely unfair to you. Who
was they though? We can't say who they is.
Corporate press. I'm not using I don't use the word as the way I guess you guys use. I'm talking.
It is
about
them though, isn't it? I mean, because because when you think about it, consider it. In 2018.
What do you mean it's not?
What do I mean? Like, okay, so how about? Are you leaving?
Are you referring to the press?
What? Now, this is the part I didn't understand. Kanye asked him a question, didn't even give him a chance to respond, and then left. But he said earlier he didn't want any pushback, so he wanted a Yes Men style interview. He should have went to a different podcast because Tim Pool, I guess he wasn't having that.
In 2018.
What do you mean it's not?
What do I mean? Like, okay, so how about? Are you leaving?
Are you referring to the press?
He's gone. I'll say it right now.
Now, Tim Pool got mad L spammed in his chat. His fan base was not fucking with his interview style in this one. They were not fucking with anything he did. But let's get into his explanation here.
You guys want to bring that stuff up? And then
have the discussion.
Not gonna have a conversation.
Like have the discussion.
Like you think he's gonna come in here and say, "Here's my pain. Here's my suffering." I'm gonna say, "I hear you," and then he's gonna say, "And it was Jewish people," and I'm gonna be like, "Okay, but don't you consider?" It's like, I'm not gonna do this. I refuse.
Make sure he's cool.
All right, go for it. Luke and I will have a conversation. So I can't say I'm surprised. What do I even do? Other than ask him, please elaborate on this. Are you referring to individuals, or are you quite literally blaming an entire group of people for the fact that powerful individuals are causing you harm?
I really wanted to ask Nick about his thoughts about MLK because I know they contradict his comments about that. But again, these are mass generalizations that don't really help anyone in my perspective. They just kind of sound like their opposition. They sound what they're kind of going against, the woke mob that's always saying white men are responsible for everything. When I see people just use generalizations, it kind of cheapens the conversations. It cheapens a dialogue that we could have here that I was planning to.
This is what I said before. Kanye West runs with the newest talking points that he sees from his local favorite talking head, and he's unable to expound on the points. Even if he's right about something, he's unable to articulate and expound on the points fully so he can debate or even just have a simple discussion. So once he's challenged, he's like, fuck it. You're not going to feed into what I'm saying or expound on it for me. Then I'm out. And that's what we've seen here. They were getting L's in the chat, but I think it's an L for both of them. For this platform, for their fan base to turn on them and not fuck with it, it didn't do anything good for their growth. Yeah, they got some viral clips and viral moments, but people weren't fucking with it for the most part. But that may just be the commenters. I don't know. Some people that may be tight lips and just really fucking with it privately. Who knows? Let's get back into the rest before I do the breakdown.
To talk to Ye about specifically bringing up, like, hey, let's actually talk about this in a real concise way. Let's not get emotional. Let's not walk out of here. Let's actually
let me tell
ourselves.
all you guys outright. I said, this is going to be a big issue. Before the show, obviously, people are going to bring up the questions of anti-Semitism. Why don't we talk about the news? I want to hear what happened with this meeting. I want to understand what Ye 24 is. And then we can do a longer conversation about any of that stuff. And Ye, literally in the first 5 minutes, says, no, I want to talk about a group of people and point to them. Whatever, man. You want to know why? Look, you're not going to sit here and you're going to walk out of the room. You're free to do so, man. But literally, I said a couple sentences about, I don't think that's fair. Did I insult the man? He seriously can't handle? He can't handle it?
He also left during the Pierce Morgan interview he did, but he came back. So, again, we should be able to have this conversation. What's up, Chris? Oh, yeah.
Look, man, I wanted to talk to these guys about why they're meeting with Trump.
Chris.
I want to know what happened with the dinner, because we hear a lot of rumors about it.
I want to hear about their 2024 platform, which they were promising, which they were talking about, like they're going to be officially.
Let me explain to everybody. That, unfortunate they walked out. Fine, maybe they'll come back. Whatever. This is the biggest challenge with dealing with identitarianism. I do not believe that the predeterminate factor in someone's worth, value, or agenda is based on immutable characteristics. Kanye is a black man. He does not represent all black people. There are Jewish individuals who work in banks. Dave Chappelle made the joke about Jewish people in Hollywood. And he said, but it doesn't mean anything. You got a lot of black people in Ferguson, doesn't mean they run the place. The point is, I'm all about individualism, meritocracy, personal responsibility. That means an individual of any background can be capable of anything. More importantly, we have employees here who are Jewish, who spend time in Israel, and would probably agree with a lot of issues that they would talk about, especially as it pertains to America first, bringing jobs back here and securing our borders. But then it's just like every step of the way, it's like, bro, if you live in a world where a single group of people is haunting you, you're trapped. You're not going to get out. The issue is you can overcome anything. I understand, and I empathize that there are powerful business interests that are coming at Kanye. And I will also say this, because I wanted to get into the Trump stuff. When Kanye mentioned he got suspended on Twitter, then he gets word that Milo wants to meet up with him. Then Milo puts him in touch with Fuentes. My immediate, question is, okay, my thought to myself, we really want to know about the inner details of this Trump meeting. I guess it's not going to happen. My question then is, don't you think that, if Kanye is going to say these things and then immediately start getting involved with Fuentes, that only amplifies the accusations made against him? But I guess if they genuinely believe these things, that's who they are.
I was dying to interrupt. I was dying to say a whole bunch of stuff during his conversation. I respectively, didn't. I was waiting to counter back, but we didn't even push back at all. Really, we didn't even really say anything crazy out there. I mean, come on. Like we should at least have the tough conversations. We should debate these ideas.
What does he think's going on?
And I don't know, but I just wish people were again like, hey.
Now, I would like to know the behind-the-scenes details about how this interview was, how it came to fruition in the first place. I wanted to know if it was sold as an interview, a debate. How did this come together for Kanye to? Because he said what he said. He didn't want this to be another Lex Friedman interview. He didn't want it to be one of those gotcha type of things. He didn't want it to be like a no, you can't say this type of shit. He didn't really want to be challenged. So I wanted to understand what their agreement was in the first place for this interview to even happen. But something Tim Pool said back here I found interesting. I have to pull it back real quick to get to that specific point so I can remember which part I was going to challenge.
An individual of any background can be capable of anything. More importantly, we have employees here who are...
Well, he spoke about any individual group controlling people, holding them down. With this part, let me go back to it so I can get it right.
Yeah.
My bad, y'all.
Look, man.
Bear with me.
I wanted to talk to these guys about why they're meeting with Trump, challenged with dealing with identitarianism. I do not believe that the predeterminate factor in someone's worth, value, or agenda is based on immutable characteristics. Kanye is a black man. He does not represent all black people. There are Jewish individuals who work in banks. Dave Chappelle made...
I made this comparison before when they're talking about black. He's the black man. He doesn't represent all black individuals. The black population is growing immensely. By 2030, 40% of all the youth in the world will live in Africa. So that's how fast the African countries' populations are growing. Nigeria is growing really rapidly. There is approaching 1.5, 1.6 billion black folks on the planet. There's 15 million Jews. That's not a comparison. Not at all. Especially how they're centralized and where their population is. 7 million Jews in America, 7.5 in Israel. Most of the Jewish population in America is in New York and Hollywood. You see how they run the news. It's centralized. You can't speak about them. Hold on. I got to pull up that. There's a reason why you can't speak about them, even if you're not saying anything negative, because I'm not out here pushing any hate speech on any groups. We ain't doing that on YouTube. It's not the platform for that. You got to bring that shit to Rumble or some shit. But the proof is in the pudding. You got the president, the CEO, the founder, the owner, the vice president, and the chairman. And these are the media companies. And all of it's in the red is with the Jewish people. That's their influence. And you know how Jewish people ride for Jewish people. They don't play that shit. You're not going to disrespect their community without them doing something and using their power in the way that they can use it. And nobody's begrudging them for that. You got to take power and exercise the power where you got it. No one's out here begging for a participation trophy and complaining to y'all to cede some power. That's not what it is. But if we can't speak about things truthfully without being shut down or put dumbass labels on niggas like they're anti-Semitic, then what are we doing here? It's like you're being trannies at this point. And we know we don't take people serious if you're going to live in delusion. Wrongfully label things because you don't want to have the conversation. And Kanye needs to come more prepared for these conversations. He needs to start rocking with the right people. He went with somebody that has the label of a white supremacist, Nick Fuentes, who has the rhetoric of a white supremacist. So you go with him and Milo to these type of like, I don't know what Kanye's doing. Yeah, what he's doing, he's getting fucked over in many ways, but he's largely unaccountable for his actions as well. So we're not going to ignore that. I left the link at the top of the chat for anybody that wanted to call in, discuss anything, give their perspective, debate anything that I said. This was it seems like it's all around, it's all over the place with this take, but it's a nuanced take. We disagree in places, we agree in other places. But for the most part, we see the fuckery, we see the inordinate ramifications and repercussions for menial statements, I would say. But Reality Watch, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know when he did any of that. I don't know the timeline to Kanye's travels, so I don't got that answer for you.
The joke about Jewish people in Hollywood, and he said, "But it doesn't mean anything."
Because Dave Chappelle's a comedian, he wasn't trying to make a political stance here. So when he said that, it's just like, come on, man. They tried to rip Dave Chappelle a new one and act like he was anti-Semitic by doing a monologue on SNL. Everything was jokes, but you can't say it. That's what we're talking about. So a certain community, the media will shut you down, and then you look at the media and you see all who's occupying these spots, and then if you say that it's anti, it's like, come on, man, stop it now. The jig is up. The jig is up. We're going to wrap this one up. We have much more to come. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. We out. Yeah.